That too loud? What do you think? A little too loud? All right, everybody, this is a big show. Hi, I'm Marky Billson, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-Cities sports fans. The name of the program is Tri-Cities Sports Now. We own the Tri-Cities because I always have the best guests on. I always have on, I give the hardest hitting opinions in the market, tell you what's really going on there, etc., etc. It is, of course, a heavy baseball theme, but the real news out there, something I've been talking about for a long time on this show, or at least several months, and it's Jeremy Pruitt. Come right out and say, does this man have the personality to lead? Because when I met him at the Vols Caravan, I'm not so sure. We all know Phil Fulmer can be very manipulative. How did he get the coaching job in 92? 26 phone calls to, board of director, etc., etc. The contract is on Johnny Major's desk, but he goes to the hospital. Fulmer starts to win in his interim, and suddenly the Vols fans, say, well, we like 5-0 more than having historic coach, And ultimately, Tennessee wins a national championship in 98. Sure. The thing is, it's known the man has been how does he get the AD job over John Curry? He's in-house, he's listed as an advisor. It's coming out that, hey, maybe that Tennessee football coaching job isn't really what it used to be, what it was in Fulmer's era. Well, we got to get rid of the football coach then, right? We replace, not the football coach, excuse me, we got to get rid of Curry, and we replace him with Fulmer. Now, this is not the way that modern day athletics, college athletics are going. I mean, there are a few exceptions, but name the last time a quote-unquote famous football coach was hired as an athletic director at a major college, or even any D1. And I've gone through this. The last time was Barry Alvarez. And that's quite a while ago up there at Wisconsin. And after that, it's been pencil pushers and, numbers crunchers, and those guys are the athletic directors at major universities. There are a few exceptions. Lynn Swann, Lynn Swann is a very accomplished man outside of football. Fulmer has, his real estate business, don't get me wrong, but the one coaching hire he made, Carl Torbush at ETSU. After an 11-22 record, how'd that work out? But you don't knock Phil Fulmer. Anyway, I've said it before, Jeremy Pruitt's personality is one that I think was hired to take orders, which obviously is what he did under Nick Saban. And I'll get to this here with our first guest in a few minutes, and you'll be able to watch that on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities Facebook, as well as, obviously, listening to AM 1420. But if you miss it, if you're in the car, if you go to the Facebook page, we'll rerun it with the Read Options Trey Wallace. Haven't had him on in a long time. But yeah, he's down in Atlanta. Jeremy Pruitt has just spoken. He has addressed the criticism that he has faced from Aaron Murray. And if you're not familiar with Aaron Murray, he used to be the quarterback at Georgia. And basically is questioned, does Jeremy Pruitt have the personality to lead a football team? I'm not getting it. And the thing is, in my sole meeting with with Pruitt, I was kind of like, wait a minute, hold on. And really, the people that are saying right now, I like Jeremy Pruitt, the reason why they're doing it, his name isn't Butch Jones. I mean, they could have put just about anybody in there and they would have liked him. Oh, he's very honest. Is he? I mean, are we having open practices at the University of Tennessee where you can see everything that goes on, or are we continuing the process of closed practices? Now, hopefully, under Pruitt, they have fired a lot of, the former team doctors, for instance. Well, I think that they're dead wood. I mean, when you look at all the injuries Tennessee has had these last few years, the famous Jalen Hurd situation, he's got a lower body injury. No, it's an upper body injury. No, it's a concussion. So if we are to believe the injury reports that came out of Tennessee, then the doctors there couldn't tell a sprained ankle from a concussion. All right. I actually think that they could, but it shows you a little bit about the dishonesty that was going on there under Butch Johnson. So just about anybody, but when anybody that could have replaced, I mean, it would have been fine, except unless his name was Greg Schiano. Then, they've got uproar. So, but, Pruitt is, I read this from somebody on social media. It's so great to have a Southern coach. You know who says it's so great to have a Southern football coach? Old South Carolina. Used to be at South Carolina, there was a rule basically that said our football coach has to have a Southern accent. It was unofficial. I mean, I don't know how, what accent Rex Enright had back in the day, or something like that. He came from Notre Dame, so I'm kind of skeptical that it was one of a Southern variety. But they had a lot of bad coaches at South Carolina with a program that was kind of promising all those years. And Brad Scott comes to mind. And finally, the team was about 1-10, but still, an 80,000 seat stadium and a Heisman Trophy winner. They said, why, are we this bad? We don't have to be this bad. Why don't we hire a real coach? Why don't we hire Lou Holtz? Well, he didn't have a Southern accent. Well, the rest is kind of history. Steve Spurrier obviously did, That also is the rest is history. But yeah, the perception of the Gamecocks turned around mightily at that point. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, there are good Southern football coaches and such. John Majors, Phil Fulmer, if you want to look at Tennessee, historically, etc. Vince Dooley was pretty good at Georgia, I would say. Obviously, Steve Spurrier. That's not, but really, geography ought to be irrelevant, shouldn't it? If you could trade right now Jeremy Pruitt with Urban Meyer up there at Ohio State, if somehow the Buckeyes wanted to make that deal, they were drinking or something, I don't quite know why they would, but if they wanted to, you're really telling me you wouldn't want to have Meyer because he's from Toledo? Really? Come on. Of course you would. The proven factor right there, But so the point being, you get these sort of things where they say that about, this is why we like Jeremy Pruitt. I can understand defensive coordinator from the national champions. Yeah, sure. I can understand why you'd like that. But there have been certain things, comments. I didn't like necessarily the way that spring practice was handled, where he went 4 days, never mentioned the name of one player. That's weird. Either Tennessee has absolutely no talent whatsoever, or, he's not giving credit where it is due. There may be something for the former. After all, Tennessee was 4-8 last year. But next thing to remember, you have, after the spring game, orange and white, there weren't enough people here. There were 63,000. And again, this goes back to, we like the honest coach here. Well, somebody's lying then. Because you had over here, nobody in the upper deck at Neyland Stadium, which holds 100,000 plus. Nobody was up there, but they said 63,000. So if every seat was occupied in the lower bowl, which obviously it wasn't, you'd figure about, 50,000 there. They reported 63. And I know that college football likes to do things like, count the players. They like to count the officials in the attendance count. And famously, 4 plumbers on call who aren't even in the stadium. The media, the official, ticket takers, the hot dog vendors, all those guys, they get counted in college football attendance. They shouldn't be, but they are. So I understand it'll, be boosted. Are there 13,000 ancillary people, 13,000 people there that aren't fans? Really? So maybe you say with Pruitt, okay, yeah, he's honest there. You know, there should have been more fans at the spring game. Well, somebody then counting the tickets, releasing the attendance count was honest then. And also, like I said, you know, just as long as somebody is not Butch Jones, or Greg Schiano, evidently, they're okay with that person coaching the Tennessee Volunteers because that's how unpopular Butch Jones was. All right. Fine. You know, departed coach, worst season in 100 years. Yeah, he's probably not going to win the race for governor. I get that, okay? However, when I look at this and I see the way Pruitt handled that, less than quality grammar, and yeah, you would say, boy, Marky, I mean, a couple of ain'ts from a football coach, I mean, even from a professor, I mean, you know, come on, I mean, if you want to sort of, you know, make a point in a course at Yale, I mean, I can see somebody making, you know, poor grammar and all that. Okay, that's not necessarily what it was. You do that on one time to a quote to the media, and you're winning, then yeah, it's romantic. When you do it after showing some media skills that are to be desired, then you start wondering about the guy. Told this story before, and I'll end up this way, about Pruitt. When he was at the Vol Caravan, he complimented me. Yeah. I don't think he really knew who I was, but he was. I wear exotic cowboy boots, okay? If you're on Facebook, I'm going to show them up right now. They're python skin right here, okay? You can see that. Jeremy Pruitt liked them, all right? I'm honored. Anybody, but I'd be honored if you said that too. It's not because, oh, the football coach in Tennessee. Anyway, I tell him a story behind those, how I started liking python boots. And it deals with an old episode of Late Night with David Letterman that I won't get to. But there's a little bit of a story there. And, you know, there's a punchline and all this. Maybe I'll get to it with Trey Wallace here in just a few minutes. I tell the story, you know, it's a humorous story. No response whatsoever from Pruitt. And I'm talking to him one-on-one. Now, okay, maybe he doesn't think it's funny, and I can accept that, you know, and all that. But it was almost like, don't you give me some reaction after you said and complimented me I mean, is there anything there behind that face? Hello? And that's the reaction I got from Pruitt. And I'm convinced that he was hired to take orders from a coach, Phil Fulmer, now the athletic director, who, quite frankly, was not necessarily ever of the opinion he should have been let go in the first place. And, you know, he wandered around and stayed and let it be known that he'd like to be around and so on and so forth. And what happens? Well, yeah. Now he's in charge of the whole program. You really think he's going to, like he said at the Caravan, oh, those games, that first game against ETSU, I'll probably be caring more about the hot dogs that are being sold. Really? You think that's going to be the case? Okay, let's go and talk a little bit about these few things. I've got, coming up just in a minute, Trey Wallace, the read optional. After that at 1 p.m., Tristan Archer, relief pitcher for the Colorado Sky Sox. He is a Sullivan South product, and he could be finding his way very shortly into a Major League Baseball pennant race. All-Star game was yesterday. A local quarterback signed with a Division I team. I'll tell you all about that in the future. But first, yeah, and by the way, why I hate the DH. Tri-City Sports Now coming up after this with Trey Wallace.
Beekeeping 101.